Maverick's death dream. The theory that Pete Maverick Mitchell dies during the opening Mach 10 test flight in Top Gun Maverick, and everything that follows is his dying fantasy. When Maverick ejects from the Dark Star hypersonic aircraft after breaking the speed barrier, fans argue he didn't survive the catastrophic failure. Instead, the rest of the film unfolds as either a purgatory dream sequence or his final moments before death. The evidence seems compelling. Every outcome plays out impossibly perfectly. Maverick reconciles with Rooster, the son of his deceased best friend Goose. He reunites with his lost love Penny Benjamin. He leads an impossible mission that military strategists deemed nearly unwinnable, and he survives it all. The unnamed enemy in the mission mirrors vague dream logic rather than real military engagement. In a memorable scene, Rooster appears dressed exactly like his father Goose, complete with the same mustache, playing the same song at the piano. Iceman's advice to let go takes on darker meaning as preparation for death rather than guilt. Director Joseph Kosinski refused to refute the theory in an August 2022 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, saying movies are meant to be interpreted in a variety of ways. The theory gained mainstream attention, with millions discussing it on social media platforms. What makes this theory particularly viable is that Kosinski later revealed in an October 2024 podcast interview that the original script actually followed Maverick's freefall back to Earth, which would have debunked the theory, but they cut that sequence. The ambiguity remains intentional, transforming what appears to be a triumphant action sequel into a potentially tragic meditation on mortality and redemption. Prison Dream. John Anderton never escapes the stasis prison in Minority Report, and the happy ending exists only in his eternal dream. Before his imprisonment in the 2002 film, a prison technician tells Anderton something crucial. He says it's actually kind of a rush, that prisoners have visions, that their life flashes before their eyes, and that all their dreams come true. The film's ending sees Anderton freed, pre-crime disbanded, the precogs retired peacefully, and his wife Lara pregnant again. Fans noticed a visual shift in the film's aesthetic. The stark blue-white palette that dominates most of the movie softens noticeably in the final act. A deleted scene showed Anderton actually dreaming of his missing son Sean while imprisoned, which would have made the dream theory more explicit, but director Steven Spielberg cut it. The major question mark in this theory involves Anderton's son Sean, who disappeared years before the events of the film. Sean never appears in the supposed dream ending, which fans debate as either evidence against the theory or its darkest detail. Some Reddit users argued the pre-crime system shouldn't have been completely shut down, since it was 100% accurate in predicting potential murders, even if not always actual murders committed. The theory suggests the system continues operating while Anderton dreams blissfully unaware, trapped in false contentment. What makes this theory remain viable is Spielberg's deliberate ambiguity. He wanted audiences questioning reality, and the prison technician's dialogue about dreams coming true plants that seed from the start. The absence of Anderton's son becomes the haunting detail. Even in his perfect fantasy, he can't imagine his son alive, suggesting this might actually be reality, or perhaps his subconscious knows the dream can't be that perfect. Multiple endings. Director Cameron Crowe himself admits there are 5 different valid interpretations of Vanilla Sky's ending, and even he can't decide which is correct. The 2001 film deliberately structured itself with ambiguous conclusions. Crowe told Vulture that sometimes he watches it and has a completely different take on what the story is, where the splice comes, and what it's all about. The official plot presents David Ames entering cryogenic suspension after disfigurement, experiencing a lucid dream via Life Extension Company, then eventually choosing to wake up 150 years in the future. Theory 1 suggests tech support tells the complete truth, and David wakes 150 years later. Theory 2 argues the entire film is a dream, supported by a car sticker showing the impossible date of February 30th, spotted in the opening. Theory 3 claims everything after the car crash is a coma dream, while David lies in a hospital. Theory 4 proposes the entire film is the plot of a book being written by Jason Lee's character, Brian Shelby. Theory 5 states everything after the drunken night is the life extension lucid dream. Crowe identified Brian Shelby as the keyhole character, offering a different perspective on the whole story. What makes the situation unique is that this isn't fan speculation that the director dismisses. Crowe explicitly validates multiple contradictory theories, designing the film to support different interpretations. Each viewing can legitimately be a different experience. The film becomes a test revealing what viewers believe about reality, identity, and consciousness. This isn't accidental ambiguity. Crow intentionally created a movie that changes meaning depending on when you believe the dream begins, or if there's a dream at all. Mole Hunt. The entire first Mission Impossible film is an elaborate mole hunt, where Ethan Hunt knowingly works to expose Jim Phelps from the beginning. This theory, analyzing the 1996 film, claims that Kittredge suspects Phelps from the start and sends Ethan to uncover the mole. The team murders in Prague weren't expected, but a second IMF team was prepared as backup, suggesting pre-planning. At the aquarium restaurant scene, nobody stops Ethan from unwrapping his explosive gum, despite being surrounded by agents who should be watching him. After the aquarium explosion, nobody chases Ethan, which seems unusual for agents supposedly trying to apprehend a suspected mole. The theory points out that Ethan's IMF network identification still works after he's disavowed, which shouldn't be possible unless he's actually part of an elaborate sting operation. Fans reinterpreted the conversation at the aquarium as coded language. When someone says the mole's deep inside and Ethan survived, it actually means your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to expose the mole. What makes this theory hold weight is how it explains several plot conveniences. It reframes the betrayal story as an elaborate sting operation, making Ethan a more competent agent rather than a victim of circumstances. While likely not what director Brian De Palma intended, the theory provides an alternate reading that actually makes Kittredge's behavior more logical. He seems simultaneously antagonistic, yet strangely permissive throughout the film, which makes more sense if he's secretly guiding Ethan toward discovering the truth. Multiverse tragedy. Edge of Tomorrow might actually be a tragedy where Cage only succeeds in one timeline, while infinite versions of him die across the multiverse. The 2014 film shows Major Cage repeatedly dying and resetting the day via alien alpha blood until he defeats the Omega. Physicists have applied David Deutsch's model of closed time-like curves to analyze the film's time loop mechanics. Deutsch's theory states that time travel only works by traveling to parallel timelines based on the many worlds interpretation. Applied to the film, Cage creates a new timeline with each loop rather than truly resetting the same timeline. The implication becomes horrifying. In every other timeline, Cage dies and humanity is obliterated by the mimics. This interpretation suggests viewers might have watched a tragedy without knowing that's what they watched. Physicists analyzing the film noted a logical problem. If Cage dies at the loop's end, his dead body should appear in the past, not a living version of him. What makes this interpretation viable is that it's grounded in actual theoretical physics rather than just fan speculation. The many worlds interpretation is a legitimate scientific theory about how quantum mechanics might work. While audiences celebrate the one timeline where Cage succeeds, the theory forces consideration of infinite versions dying unsuccessfully across infinite timelines. The film transforms from a feel-good victory into cosmic horror. We watched countless Cages die across the multiverse, and the movie only shows us the single success story. Clone identity. Every version of Jack Harper in Oblivion represents a fragmented consciousness trapped across thousands of bodies. The 2013 film reveals that Jack Harper and Victoria Olsen are clones, created by an alien artificial intelligence called the Tet. The original humans were astronauts aboard the Odyssey mission to Titan, who were captured near Saturn around 2017. The Tet created thousands of Jack and Victoria clones, programming them to believe they're married, before sending them to Earth as maintenance workers. Jack 49 is the main character, but the film also shows Jack 52, another clone who regains the original Jack's memories upon seeing Julia. The ending takes place 3 years later, with Julia raising Jack's daughter, visited by a different Jack clone who found his way back to her. The theory extends beyond the obvious clone premise. It suggests infinite iterations of Jack's consciousness are trapped in a cycle, all believing they're the original. What makes this interpretation linger is the question the ending raises. Julia is with a Jack, not the Jack. Is Jack 52 the same person because he shares memories? Does having the same memories make you the same person? The film presents this as a happy ending, but the theory argues it's tragic. Jack's identity has been fragmented across thousands of bodies, each believing they're the original. each capable of falling in love with Julia. The philosophical question remains unanswered. When a clone has all your memories, are they you? By the way, if you're enjoying this content, I create videos like this regularly. Subscribing would really mean a lot. Samurai Afterlife? Nathan Algren, in The Last Samurai, actually dies during his first battle, and the rest of the film is his journey through the afterlife. The 2003 film shows Algren, a traumatized Civil War veteran, hired to train the Japanese army against samurai rebels. During his first engagement, Algren is captured after sustaining multiple wounds that should have killed him. The theory suggests he actually dies in that battle, and everything that follows represents his transition to the afterlife. Evidence includes his complete transformation from an alcoholic, haunted by past atrocities, to finding peace and purpose. The samurai village represents a kind of purgatory where he learns honor and redemption. Katsumoto becomes his spiritual guide, teaching him to let go of his guilt. The cherry blossoms that appear throughout the film symbolize the fleeting nature of life and beauty in death. Algren's survival of seemingly impossible odds in the final battle, his acceptance by the Emperor, and his ultimate peace all suggest a spiritual rather than physical journey. What makes this theory viable is how perfectly the film's arc matches the stages of accepting death and finding peace. Algren enters the story as a man already dead inside, and through his time with the samurai, he finds the honorable death he was seeking all along. The film never explicitly confirms or denies this reading, leaving it open to interpretation. Hitman's design. Vincent's meticulous planning in Collateral contains clues suggesting a larger conspiracy involving Max's involvement from the start. The 2004 film stars Tom Cruise as Vincent, a professional hitman, and Jamie Foxx as Max, a cab driver forced to be his driver for one night. The theory suggests Vincent's targets aren't random contract kills, but connected through Max. Vincent specifically chose Max's cab, despite Los Angeles having thousands of taxis. His comment that the bullets and the fall killed someone demonstrates his dissociation from responsibility and methodical thinking. The final target is Annie, a prosecutor Max met earlier in the film. The coincidence seems too perfect. The theory argues Vincent selected Max specifically because of his connection to Annie, making Max an unwitting part of the plan all along. Director Michael Mann shot the film with unusual digital cinematography, giving it a stark, almost documentary feel. What makes this theory viable is how the film's coincidences suggest deliberate design rather than chance. Vincent either meticulously planned every element, including Max, or the targeting of Annie through Max was always the real mission. Mann's visual choices support both realistic conspiracy and calculated assassination plot interpretations. The film works perfectly well at face value as a thriller about a random encounter, but the theory suggests nothing about Vincent's night was random at all. Every detail was planned, including Max's involvement from the very beginning. Replacement theory. Ethan Hunt has died and been replaced by clones multiple times throughout the Mission Impossible franchise, explaining his changing personality and impossible survival. The theory analyzing films spanning 1996 to 2025 notes Ethan's personality shifts dramatically between entries. He's methodical in the first film, emotional in the third, and increasingly reckless in later installments. The theory suggests IMF secretly clones agents, replacing them when killed on missions. Ethan survives impossible situations, including a nuclear explosion in Ghost Protocol and a helicopter crash in Fallout. The seventh film, Dead Reckoning, reveals an AI called the Entity can manipulate reality and records, which could theoretically hide a clone program. Ethan Hunt and Luther Stickle are the only two characters appearing in all 8 films, with Luther possibly aware of the replacements. An alternative version suggests Ethan Hunt is a codename passed between agents, similar to the James Bond codename theory. Tom Cruise's age-defying performance adds a meta level to the theory. He's still performing dangerous stunts in his 60s, playing a character who seemingly never ages. What makes this theory persist is how it explains both in-universe inconsistencies and the meta-reality of a 29-year franchise. While almost certainly not intentional, the franchise's own plots provide tools for the theory. The mask technology established in early films, the advanced cloning suggested by later entries, and the reality-manipulating AI all exist within the series' established universe. The theory attempts to reconcile the impossible with the possible, using the franchise's own rules. False memory. Barry Seal in American Made is an unreliable narrator whose video confession distorts or fabricates much of what viewers see on screen. The 2017 film frames itself as Barry's video confession recorded for his family. The theory suggests everything shown is Barry's self-serving version rather than objective truth. Barry presents himself as a victim of circumstances despite being a willing drug smuggler who made active choices. Historical inaccuracies in the film support the unreliable narrator reading, as the real Barry Seal's story differs significantly from the movie's version. Director Doug Liman is known for ambiguous narratives in films like Edge of Tomorrow and The Bourne Identity. What makes this theory hold up is the film's framing device. The video confession structure means we're explicitly seeing Barry's edited version of events. He's literally controlling the narrative, choosing what to include and how to present it. The film presents Barry as a charming rogue rather than the criminal he actually was. The theory adds a layer of deception to an already deceptive story about lies, smuggling, and CIA operations. Barry's version of events makes him look better, more innocent, more swept along by forces beyond his control. But the video confession format suggests we should question everything we see. Is this what really happened? Or is this what Barry wants his family to believe happened? The film never explicitly confirms or denies this reading, leaving it as a viable interpretation. War illusion. The entire war in War of the Worlds might be a psychological breakdown experienced by Ray Ferrier rather than an actual alien invasion. The 2005 film shows divorced dock worker Ray struggling to connect with his children when massive tripod machines emerge and begin destroying humanity. The theory suggests the invasion represents Ray's mental collapse as he faces the responsibility of protecting his children. Evidence includes how the film focuses almost entirely on Ray's limited perspective, with no wider context for the global invasion. The alien's weakness to bacteria seems too convenient, mirroring how Ray's family problems resolve too neatly at the end. His son Robbie survives against impossible odds and appears unharmed in Boston, defying all logic. His daughter Rachel stops screaming and becomes calm, suggesting Ray has mentally processed his trauma. The theory argues the tripods represent Ray's overwhelming anxiety about fatherhood and responsibility. His journey through the wasteland becomes a psychological odyssey where he must confront his failures as a parent. What makes this theory intriguing is how director Steven Spielberg keeps the scope claustrophobically tight on Ray's experience, never showing military victories or worldwide coordination. The invasion begins and ends within Ray's immediate sphere, and everyone important to him survives despite astronomical odds. The theory suggests we're watching one man's breakdown and recovery disguised as an alien invasion story. If this was worth your time, consider subscribing so you never miss new content. Thanks for watching.